Dear listeners, thank you for your incredible support in helping our channel grow. We're aiming for 1,000 subscribers, so please support us by subscribing and helping us reach this milestone. Now let's start the story. We are the in-between, cast down as warriors of war. Struck to the earth like lightning, this world is our battleground. We reject the suffering imposed by others and embrace who we are, even with our flaws. Heaven bores us. Hell isolates us. We seek only to be ourselves. The war god sent us to a place unworthy of battle, against a so-called deity unworthy of worship. The gods of this land are chosen by the weak, preferring servitude over the fight for freedom. My brothers and I, fallen angels, descend from the wings of the sea, 23 Sherpa, gliding on moonlit currents toward our destined path. The enemy sleeps unaware as we land silently in their fields, just clicks away. We, 3 angels bearing the image of our target burned into memory, advance toward the compound where destruction is planned. Trained by experience, we move undetected through woods and fields, the moonlight guiding our way. Hidden in the trees, we wait as patrols and dogs pass beneath us. With the Barrett, our rod of thunder capable of striking from a mile away, we take our positions. I stand in overwatch, ensuring my team's safety. Ace, the shooter. Bravo, the spotter. I, Charlie, the intelligence officer. The war god demands precision, no mistakes, undeniable proof. Our target, an agent of chaos, a lesser god serving darkness, must fall. We know his death is necessary to restore balance, yet as we find him in his lair, we see the presence of an innocent. Our orders are absolute, eliminate everyone. But we, fallen angels, hesitate. Can we truly take the life of one untouched by war, one who has yet to choose a side? The innocent, a beautiful woman, would appear to not know the evil that stands beside her. Her long flowing blonde hair tickles the belt of her skirt. Her legs bare from the knee down to her bare foot is alluring to the eye, such a difference from the stone-cold tyrant that stood mere feet away. Knowing his atrocities against humanity makes it hard to imagine such innocent a creature in his presence. Still, the gods have given the order that all should die at our hands, no living thing left behind. We 3 looked at each other, silently speaking the same thought. How could we, the fallen angels, kill purity? We watched in silence, each knowing we could be done with our task and on our way back to heaven, but for the hope that the innocent would leave so we would not have to destroy her too. We were all too efficient at our jobs and surely would be asked about the delay in completion, but we persevered. Hoping against the odds, we watched as the blonde beauty seemed to move about freely, so we thought. It became clear that we needed to complete our task to make the window of opportunity to return home. The UH-60 Black Hawk was to pick us up no later than 1300 hours Zulu, and if we didn't make it to the extraction point by then, there was only one other opportunity 10 clicks away. After the second extraction opportunity passed, we would be on our own to evacuate before hellfire would be unleashed and the sky would rain fire on our op. Still weighing our mission against the taking of innocence, we began to feel the stress, and then an opportunity presented. Blonde went outside to the pool and disrobed before jumping in. As a fallen angel, I knew this was our chance to take her away and complete the mission. We 3 watched with eyes wide open as she removed her monkey kaftan, revealing a tiny bikini. Each of us, as men, appreciated her feminine form and looked to each other, confirming that we would go off script and extract innocent from the evil that would surely die at our hands. Knowing the shooter and spotter needed to stay hidden and complete the mission, I gave them hand signals to coordinate the coming action. We were trained experts in hostage extraction, so this situation wasn't new to us, save that we made the decision in direct conflict to the orders our God had assigned. We were too valuable to God to really worry about repercussions, and we were following the path of the righteousness. Even though I knew Shooter would complete his mission, I understood, as did he, that they would be watching over me. I skirted the perimeter of the compound to a point where I was close to the pool. I made eye contact with Spotter and gave him the signal for 5 minutes, so they would know when I planned on taking her. I was 15 feet from the edge of the pool behind a 4-foot-tall stone wall when she got out and toweled off right in front of me. Karmic timing was perfect as I reached out and pulled her over and behind the wall with me. I assured her that she would be safe as I covered her. The sound of thunder shot out, followed time and time again, sending the darkness home. When the bolts of lightning ceased, I raised up and saw the all-clear thumbs up from Shooter. I uncovered the innocent, and she raised up to hug me, thanking me for saving her. I told her to stay until we cleared the house. I waited as Shooter and Spotter came down from the tree and carefully made their way to me. As I waited, I asked the innocent her name, and she told me Catherine Harsh, and that she'd been kidnapped 6 years ago. I asked her if she knew the man who kidnapped her, and she said no, but he had sold her to the man inside, motioning to the house. When they got to us, I told Shooter to stay with Catherine, while Spotter and I cleared the house. We went inside, and there were 7 dead inside, including our target. I used our inter-unit comm to tell Shooter it was clear. A few minutes later, he brought Catherine inside with him. I told her she could collect her clothes, and she led us to the room where she had been kept. She dressed as Shooter stood outside, and we rendezvoused in the main entertainment room of the house. I radioed in our status to the UH-60 pilot, who gave me an estimated time to extraction. I left out the part about having Catherine, so there would be no confusion. I told her we would be at the extraction point in 20 minutes, which was a 10-minute walk just outside the compound. I confirmed the target's death with a picture and documented the other dead, and we left. I told Spotter to keep Catherine out of sight on the edge of the extraction point until the UH-60 Black Hawk had landed. The op had not gone as planned, but the helicopter was in sight and getting ready to land when the chopper pilot radioed me that there was another heat signature with us. I confirmed that he was clear to land, no hostiles. The pilot landed and the door gunner kept trained just behind us, and the wooded edge of the clearing we'd came from until we were on board. The rotors provided the thunderous roar that accompanied our ascent to the heavens. I listened as the pilot radioed into command that the assets were on board with one unknown accompanying. Command instantly came over my comm, being I was the intelligence officer in charge and leader of the operation. I was questioned as to why the civilian, to which I told command that she was an intelligence asset and that I would explain further upon arrival. Cut and dry report that I knew would cover me for the moment, but the result of my actions in the end would not be so easy. Catherine Harsh had been through a lot, which could be seen on her eyes. She asked if she could call her parents. I thought about it for a minute and then told her when we were back in the continental United States, I would let her use my cell phone. She was grateful and didn't seem to have realized that she wasn't in the U.S. before that moment. When the helicopter crossed over the Texas-Mexico border, I Googled her family's phone number and hit dial, handing it to Catherine. She said thank you, and the conversation, even muffled as it was with all the noise, confirmed she had indeed reached her mother. This helped me in that her parents, being influential, would begin the process of having her return to them. Upon landing, my superior and 2 NCIS agents and a JAG officer met me in the hangar. Another officer took Catherine away as I listened to the JAG officer reading me my rights. As I watched her being directed away, I saw other agents taking away Shooter and yet more taking Spotter in a different direction. My paternal father's voice spoke loudly in my head, "My son, you can be right and dead right. I believe in right and wrong, good and evil, and it helped the clarity of war." There was little room in my mind for gray areas. I also knew there is a price to be paid for freedom, and I was on the hot plate for this one for sure, but righteousness was on my side. They chose the fallen angels for a reason. We got the job done, and we were not in the normal chain of command. Some lesser soldiers and politicians called us a rouge force, saying that we were not accountable for our actions. I never felt above the law, except in that when the law subverted what was right and just. We never operated outside the boundaries of command without justice and righteousness on our sides. These thoughts were in my mind as the NCIS agent in charge read me my rights under the Uniform Military Code of Conduct. I could have repeated the rights to him from memory, so when asked, I said yes, I understood. I was led to a detention cell and interviewed for 2 days by skilled interrogators. Upon being released, Catherine was waiting in the lobby of the command facility I was released from. Ace and Brovo were released at the same time, and Catherine hugged us all and thanked us. Mr. and Mrs. Harsh were there as well, and we 3 fallen angels were hugged and thanked by them as well. As we exited the building, we were warned by the duty driver that there were news crews at the main gate waiting for us to exit. We were driven back to our barracks on base and dropped off. When I got to my room, I started to change clothes. Emptying my pockets, I found a folded piece of paper with Catherine's phone number. The note said, "Thank you, please call me with her number." She must have slipped it in my pocket when we hugged. I thought about it and dismissed it as hero worship. After all, I was one of her rescuers. I was watching the news later in the TV lounge, and lead story on the news was about Catherine Harsh being rescued from her captors. It was a nice piece of fiction that explained for the public how she came to be rescued. There was another story about an explosion and complete destruction of the drug lord turned politician's compound in South America. That story was another work of fiction that would lead the viewer to believe that internal forces or an accident had caused the devastation. It was amazing how the media was so controlled and the public so naive. But for now, our cover story was in place. I had all but forgotten about Catherine Harsh as other operations came and went over the last few months, but then the message tone on my phone sang out. Catherine said she wanted to meet me for dinner and left her number. I thought about it for a few minutes and decided whatever and dialed her. She answered on the second ring and thanked me for calling back. We talked for over 10 minutes and decided to meet for dinner later that night. I thought about not showing up, but then I remembered the moment I saw her taking off her monkey kaftan beach dress to go swimming minutes before we rescued her. We met at Red Lobster next to the mall, and we ate dinner and agreed to see a movie at the mall theater. I was surprised at how well she'd recovered from her ordeal. Through the movie, we held hands, and I was aware of how nice she smelled as she snuggled up to me. For someone who had been through so much, she seemed to be handling it well. I didn't see her as damaged goods, but a survivor, and as the night drew close to an end, I realized she didn't just survive, she was thriving. I asked her to go out again, and she agreed. I leaned into her, and our lips met. At first, it was just a measurement touch making our lips meet, and the touch lapsed for a second, and then our lips met with more pressure. Our first embrace wasn't planned, but the moment our lips met, it felt like time stood still. Gentle at first, then deepening. We held on to each other, completely lost in the connection. There was no urgency, just two souls meeting in a quiet, unspoken understanding. As we slowly pulled apart, reality came rushing back. We were still standing by her car in the mall parking lot, people passing by. For a brief moment, it felt like the world had faded away. I met her gaze and asked, "Tomorrow night?" She smiled, already knowing the answer. "Can't wait to hear your voice again," she said before driving off, leaving me standing there, still feeling the warmth of the moment. A fallen angel touched by innocence. Two souls who seemed perfect as one. Only the divine power of the universe, the Creator, could have brought us together. I got on my motorcycle and started back to base and contemplated the flight path I was on now. Not the death and destruction from high above, but the beauty and wonderment of love. Maybe this love will be my resurrection, and I will be able to fly free with eyes wide open to the light. Sleep came easy, and my dreams were high above the clouds, soaring happy with my soulmate. No death or fighting, just pure free flight. As I woke, my thoughts were of the kiss, and how such a small part of my sexual encounters before now was the height of my dream. As I moved from my rack and got showered, all I could think of was the beauty and how one kiss had changed me. Brovo knocked and entered my room and informed me that we were on deck at 1300 hours. I normally, before the innocent beauty entered my life, would have snapped to, ready to slay the next evil, rise to the challenge of the operation handed to me. But all I could think of was her. I had to call her, to let her know. I knew it was against protocol to even mention being called to action, but I had to let her know. I called her, and she was so elated to hear my voice, and then the disappointment that I had to cancel our date for that night. She ended our conversation with, "Return to me, safely, angel, for the world needs love too." When I got to the war room and received the task, I was going through the motions. As a team, we three fallen angels were close. Whatever was going on with one would affect the others. So it was today. Leaving the briefing, Alpha pulled me aside and asked if I was okay. It was a first for me. I had never been questioned before. Being our lives and the lives of many others depended on us doing our jobs, I was honest with him and told him love had crept in. I was conflicted. He told me that for him, being married, love was always with him, even on the most heinous of missions. The slaying of the enemy and the destruction we'd wrought on those who fought back were a means of ensuring his love would be there safe when he got back. It was the reminder that what we do keeps the world safe, and even though we are the fallen angels that reap destruction and mayhem, we are part of the world that we defend. We are deserving of a life that isn't only death from above, but love and happiness on the earth we protect. It was a conversation I had not expected from Alpha, for he was the absolute tool of death on many of our missions. We all played our roles and had physical blood on our hands, but Alpha was shooter. His finger ended more lives than Brovo and I together. So with renewed faith in our heavenly mission from God, we armored up and boarded the winged fortress that would deliver us to the battlefield. It was a long flight with several refuels along the way. We went over the mission parameters of extraction, or snatch and grab as we called it. This target was not a friendly, not a hostage, but an asset of the enemy that was wavering. We were tasked with liberating him from his brothers to exploit his intelligence. A secondary goal was to liberate any intelligence that may or may not be at the location. The rear door slowly opened, and we three angels walked to the edge, waiting for the go light, watching as the earth below was a grainy blur at this height. The light came on, and we took flight, falling into the wind, riding her as a wave in the ocean, miles from where the winged fortress had released us. We glided mere feet from each other, searching the ground for landmarks like a hawk searching for his next meal. Brovo the spotter pointed us to a river which we recognized, and in unison followed to our primary landing zone. The landing zone was clear, and we three falling angels swooped and landed, as we had practiced so many times before. The equipment we needed was exactly where it was supposed to be, and in 30 minutes we were at the perimeter of the encampment. The target was a smoker and was often identified on satellite as he smoked just outside the main tents. We watched the camp grow quiet, and several people went to communal tents to sleep. Alpha took over watch. Bravo and I crawled to the edge of the scraggly bushes by the tents. We could hear the Muslim music from inside the tents and various voices, in a growling hush like coyotes in the Midwest. Alpha came over the comm and said possible target at your 2 o'clock. We looked to our right and saw the man strolling away from his tent. He walked 35 feet or so, and he urinated. He looked around at the stars, and then he lit a cigarette. As the light from his match lit his face, Alpha confirmed it was our target. We crept closer, and with his back turned to us, Bravo leaped up from the crawl and grabbed the target's mouth with one hand and tackled him to the ground. I rushed over and stuck him with a needle full of quick-acting sedative. Within a minute, he was unconscious, and we carried him away safely. Once we were far enough away, Bravo picked him up, fireman's carry, and removed him to Alpha's position. I waited until Bravo returned and pointed him to the operations tent with the open flap. We could see there was only one person on duty, listening for radio chatter. Alpha updated us that the camp was still quiet, no visible threats. So we proceeded to the tent, and as we got closer, I could see the young man on duty was surfing porn on a laptop computer. He was so focused he didn't even hear me enter the tent. One blow to the lower part of his skull, and he was unconscious. Bravo stayed just inside the tent flap standing watch as I went about gathering the laptop, log book, and several maps. Bravo tied and gagged the young man as I worked, and we scampered out like a possum with a stick of butter. Once we three with package and intelligence were back at the landing zone, we signaled for pickup, and we heard a truck start and approach our position. It was our in-country contact. He turned off the truck, and we loaded the target and intelligence into a plane we uncovered. We shook hands and said Godspeed, brother, in Arabic. To look at him, you would never know he was one of us, but I knew him and his sacrifice for our country. The gods of war moved us like chess pieces, and he was an asset that many could not duplicate. We drove off into the night, leaving our friend known as the Arabian Wolf to his ongoing undercover mission. Once the package was delivered, we hopped a flight back from Gitmo and were debriefed upon arrival home. Once we were released, I called Catherine, and she was relieved to hear from me. She kept saying she'd been watching the news to see if anything had happened that she thought maybe us. I told her that if she ever did hear something that way, it would not be good for us. I told her I would be free to go out tomorrow night, and she jumped at the chance. I could feel the mission washing off of me like I had never felt before. The love in her voice cleansed me, completed me. I picked up Catherine, and we went to diner. She had on a sundress with a hat when I picked her up. She was quite the sight. As we walked up to the restaurant, everyone's eyes were on her. I had chose to dress up, and we were a good-looking couple in the mirror image of the restaurant's windows. We were seated, and diner was magnificent. The food was good, but the service was outstanding, the view outstanding. The kind of views that make a fallen angel proud to be an American. As the evening progressed, Catherine and I held hands and looked into each other's eyes like there wasn't another person on earth, when in fact we're in one of the most crowded restaurants in the city. Sitting across from such a beautiful woman, I wanted to take her right there on the table, but in lieu of doing that, I made love to her mind. I drew circles in her palm, and I told her how beautiful she was, the words flowing from a real place in my soul. I wanted this to be the best night in her life and mine. Other people were seated, ordered, ate, and left as I sat across from my angel. The staff were professional and never pressured us to leave and were attentive at a distance. When we got up to leave, there was a line of people waiting to get in that I could only estimate the number. The line was so long. I drove to the San Diego's Fairmont Grand Del Mar, where I had made reservations earlier in the day. Catherine was shocked that I had reservations, and when we got there, the doorman opened the car door for Catherine. As I came around to take her hand, I handed him the keys for the valet and a crisp $100 bill. He passed us on to the bellhop, who took us directly to our room. I had given specific directions when I made reservations and used some of my influence to make sure this would be a night Catherine would never forget. The room was perfect, and the view from the top floor was breathtaking. I tipped the bellhop, and he quietly exited. Catherine and I sat on the balcony, talking for what felt like hours, enjoying each other's company. As the evening progressed, we moved inside, feeling at ease in each other's presence. We settled onto the bed, lying close, sharing quiet laughter and gentle conversation. A tender kiss reinforced the unspoken bond between us, a moment of connection that felt destined. Time seemed to stand still as we held each other, lost in warmth and understanding. In that moment, nothing else mattered, just the two of us, together, as if the rest of the world had faded away. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.